Immunology Insights, Basics and Beyond. Chapter 25, How Vaccines Work. Marcello here. Welcome back to Immunology Insights, Basics and Beyond. In our previous chapter, we explored the fascinating history of vaccines, from early immunization practices like variolation to modern breakthroughs such as mRNA vaccines. But how exactly do vaccines protect us? What molecular magic is happening inside our bodies that allows the immune system to develop lasting immunity, all without making us sick? Today, we will break down how vaccines work at the molecular level, explore the different types of vaccines, and explain how these medical marvels train our immune system to detect and destroy infections efficiently. So let's talk science. So, how do vaccines work? At the heart of it, vaccines are a way to teach the immune system what a dangerous pathogen looks like, without exposing the body to the full harmful version of the pathogen itself. This clever strategy lets the immune system prepare its defenses in advance, so that if the real infection shows up later, the body can respond faster and more effectively. So, what's the mechanism behind this? Let's walk through the different steps. First, we have the antigen exposure. This process begins when a vaccine introduces an antigen to the body. An antigen is usually a molecule from the pathogen, often a protein or a fragment of its surface. Depending on the vaccine, this might be a weakened or inactivated virus, a bacterial protein, or even genetic instructions to produce a viral component, as in mRNA vaccines. Importantly, these components can't cause the disease, but they're enough to alert the immune system. Second, we have the immune activation. The antigen doesn't float around aimlessly. It is picked up by specialized immune cells known as antigen-presenting cells or APCs, most notably dendritic cells, as we have heard before. These APCs process the antigen and then travel to the lymph nodes, where they present the antigen to T cells. This presentation is the signal that launches the next phase of the immune response. Third, we have the B and T cell response. Once activated, T cells go to work. Helper T cells, which are CD4 positive, coordinate the immune response, releasing signaling molecules called cytokines to stimulate other immune cells. Meanwhile, cytotoxic T cells, which are CD8 positive, prepare to recognize and kill infected cells if the real virus ever appears. At the same time, B cells, which recognize the antigen with their surface antibodies, begin to proliferate and differentiate into plasma cells, churning out large amounts of antibodies. These antibodies will neutralize the pathogen if encountered later. Fourth, we have the memory formation. After the stimulated infection is cleared, most of the activated cells die off, but some remain as memory cells. These include both memory B cells and memory T cells, which linger in the body for months, years, or even decades. Upon future exposure to the real pathogen, these memory cells reactivate rapidly, neutralizing the invader before it can even cause significant harm. The brilliance of this system lies in its speed and specificity. A naive immune system might take several days to mount a full response, but thanks to vaccination, a primed immune system can act within hours. There are several types of vaccines, each using a different strategy to train the immune system. While we will explore these in more depth in the next chapter, here is a quick overview. First, we have live attenuated vaccines that use a weakened version of the pathogen. An example is MMR, so the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine. Second, we have inactivated vaccines that contain a killed pathogen, for example the vaccines against polio or hepatitis A. Third, we have subunit and conjugated vaccines that use fragments like proteins or sugars of the pathogens. Examples here are vaccines against the human papillomavirus or the pneumococcus vaccine. Fourth, we have the toxoid vaccines that target bacterial toxins, not the bacteria themselves. Examples here are the tetanus and diphtheria vaccines. And fifth, we have the mRNA vaccines that teach our cells to make a harmless viral protein, triggering the immunity. The most prominent example here, of course, is the COVID-19 vaccine. Each type has unique advantages depending on the pathogen and public health goal. As said before, we will dig into how they are made and when they are used in the next episode. Let's also briefly look at herd immunity and public health. Vaccines don't just protect individuals, they protect entire communities. When enough people are immunized, a phenomenon called herd immunity occurs. This reduces the overall spread of disease, which is especially important for infants too young to be vaccinated, elderly individuals with weaker immune systems, and people with allergies or medical conditions that prevent vaccination. Herd immunity has been instrumental in reducing outbreaks of diseases like measles, rubella, and pertussis. However, it requires high vaccination rates, often 85 to 95% depending on the disease. We will learn more in detail about herd immunity in a later chapter of this podcast. Albeit being so important, vaccines face challenges in future directions. We have already discussed some of the key challenges in the previous chapter, but I'd like to recap briefly. There is vaccine hesitancy, which threatens public health efforts and require better communication and trust building. Of course, there is viral evolution, especially in influenza and coronaviruses, which means that vaccines must adapt quickly. There's of course also ongoing work towards universal vaccines, offering broader protection across virus types. Despite these hurdles, vaccine research continues to evolve rapidly, opening the door to an even safer, faster, and more accessible solution in the future. Of course, we have to talk about vaccine side effects and damages. While vaccines are overwhelmingly safe, no medical intervention is completely without risks. There are mild side effects like soreness, fatigue, fever, or headache that are actually quite common and usually reflect a healthy immune response ramping up. In rare cases, however, more serious side effects can occur and may be caused by three main factors. First, the vaccine type itself, such as live attenuated vaccines, which carry a small risk of reverting in severely immunocompromised individuals. Second, the adjuvants added to enhance the immune response, for example aluminium salts in some subunit vaccines. And third, an overshooting immune reaction, especially in individuals with underlying conditions or immune sensitivities. mRNA and viral vector vaccines can also cause short-term systemic effects like fever or muscle pain, but serious complications remain extremely rare. Importantly, the risk of serious vaccine side effects is far lower than the risks posed by the actual diseases, which can cause hospitalization, disability, or death. Importantly, transparency of these rare vaccine-related events is key to public trust and informed decision making. In that context, some vaccines require so-called adjuvants to work properly. Adjuvants are substances added to some vaccines to boost the immune reaction, making them more effective, especially in subunit or inactivated vaccines. Common types like aluminium salts or newer oil-in-water emulsions work by stimulating local inflammation and prolonging antigen exposure. They are generally very safe, with side effects usually limited to mild, short-term reactions like soreness or swelling. To conclude, vaccines are one of the most powerful tools in human history. They harness the incredible potential of our immune system, training it to recognize and destroy pathogens before they can even cause harm. By understanding how vaccines work, we don't just gain insight into our biology, we also see the values of collaborative science, global public health, and community protection. In the next chapter, we will take a closer look at the different types of vaccines we touched on today, diving deeper into how each is developed, tested, and used in real-world scenarios. Before closing, I have a small request. If you enjoyed my content and want to hear more, like and subscribe. It's a small step for you, but it helps me a lot. So see you next time and thank you for listening.